I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and I apologize for that glare. But this is another paid request, this time for Eric. Now, for those interested in requesting any other type of videos, reviews, re-reviews, reactions, pretty much anything, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. I promise I will get to it as soon as I can. Eric wanted me to talk about a film called The Blue Match from 1966. Oh, and the PayPal Patreon links are down below in the info box, if you wish to, of course. Now, The Blue Max, it was directed by the same guy who would go on to make The Towering Inferno, which I really enjoy, and the 70s Teen Con movie, which I don't mind that film. Now, I will say with the flick, the best part of the movie are the aerial dogfights, because it takes place in World War One. Starts off in around 1918, give or take, and it stars George Peppard. Now, George Peppard, I remember him the most as the leader, Hannibal, in the TV show The A-Team from the 1980s. Hannibal Smith. Here he plays someone who works with the German army. I'm not sure if I buy George Peppard as a German, but it was cool to see him in a different kind of role. And he's an officer, he's fighting in the trenches, and then he goes into the German Army Air Service. And most of the film is about him becoming obsessed with winning this medal that's called the Blue Max, shoot down 20 enemy airplanes, and someone has to be there to confirm it, to make sure you didn't just make it up. And it gets to a point where he's more obsessed with that than winning the war or helping comrades. He's just obsessed with that. That ultimately becomes his downfall. Now, like I said, positive notes. It looked like they had a budget. There's nice wide shots of people fighting in the trenches. A lot of extras being involved. There's one great shot where you see airplanes fighting in the sky and one trailing down with smoke behind it, crashing in the midst of a bunch of people in the foreground. There's another shot later on where it's just a bunch of enemy and friendly airplanes flying amidst each other, all done for real. This is 1966. And that is the stuff to watch out for in this movie, as well as the score, because the score is from a very young Jerry Goldsmith. And we started hearing the music, I went, wow, this music is good. But it was familiar. I was just familiar because when I looked at, oh, okay, he has that Jerry Goldsmith feel, which is one of the reasons why he's my favorite composer. Him, John Carpenter, Hans Zimmer, those are some of my favorite composers of all time, and Jerry Goldsmith is greatly missed. And it's always nice to hear another piece I had not heard before from the late, great Goldsmith. And you can't see this poster, but this poster is for the 1989 film Leviathan, and he also did the score for that. Now, at the end of the day, I thought the film was okay, despite the stuff I said, because it's 2.5 hours long, and I'm sorry, the film did not need to be 2.5 hours long. And the story is pretty meh. You don't really get to know much about the characters, George Peppard, the reason he's so obsessed. The best you could get out of it is that he's part of the lower social class, and doing this will prove himself that he can run with them. But if you're looking for in-depth character development of more so why he's doing this, and is there more to his background, more to his backstory, more to his childhood, you don't really get that. And at one point, he's having sex with the general's, I almost said daughter. No, that's a John Travolta film, the general's daughter. With the general's mistress, wife, and that's Ursula Andress, the first James Bond girl, and Dr. No. So Ursula Andress, it's nice to see her in there. James Mason, he's the general. James Mason's been in quite a few stuff. And like I said, it has some decent scope. The music is solid. The acting is not the problem. Like George Peppard, James Mason, again, I don't know if I buy them as Germans, but acting-wise, they're fine. And what the movie is also trying to tell is the descent of, what's the word I'm looking for, chivalry during war, because there's a point where, in order to get these 20 kills, George Peppard kills this soldier in another airplane, and he lets them go, but then the one gets his gun ready, and George Peppard shoots him down. The others, they're wondering if he killed the enemy in cold blood. As one person says, if he shot down a helpless enemy in cold blood, I will not tolerate it. And it's trying to have that fight between, there are villains, there are bad guys, there are adversaries, more like it, but we still have a bit of a code, while George Peppard is, what code? To shoot a man and then make a ritual in saluting, that's hypocrisy. And that was a good line from George Peppard. I did like that bit of the story, where you're fighting those ideals. Like, this is war. Hey, if I get shot down, I don't want anyone to salute me. Again, to kill a man and then when I salute him, that's pretty hypocritical. Which makes sense. I can understand George Peppard's, that character's point of view. And let's say intermixed with the very nicely shot airplane sequences where there's POV shots. There's a point where George Peppard gets shot down and we see it really on fire and cut to POV going down. And it's well directed and well edited. It doesn't seem confusing, doesn't seem discombobulated, and it's done for real, because you had to do it for real. Like I said, I don't think it needed to be 2.5 hours long. I don't think there's enough story there for 2.5 hours. I don't think there's enough meat on the bones for that running time. I'm sorry, I don't care for the love story aspect. I don't think this needed that aspect. I really do not. It seems, I don't want to say arbitrary, but it pointless at the end of the day. Because he's with her, then she wants him to leave all this with her, and he's like, no, I'm not going to do it because I'm a combat pilot. Then at one point, he had lied about certain kills he made, because him and this other guy, which they were friends but they were rivals, they decided to do these tricks with each other to see who's better. George Peppard goes under a bridge. This guy goes under, but then he screws up, clips something, and crashes and dies. And so back at base, oh, well, your friend, they're not really friends, but your comrade killed these fighter planes, and George Papard goes, well, wait a minute, how do you know I didn't do it? Well, did you? Yeah, I'll take them. Of course, come to find out that that was a lie, because his gun was jammed, he only shot a certain amount of bullets, there's no way that could be done. And the ironic thing is, he didn't have to lie. If he didn't lie, he still would have made his 20. But that leads to his downfall, like I said, when he lied about it. Because then he admits it to her, and then she tells someone else, and then James Mason is trying to make George Papard the leader of the people, for propaganda, a hero for the people, I should say. But because of certain things, now they don't want to be embarrassed, they want to save face. Spoiler alert, spoilers starting now. I'll put my hand up and then when I put my hand down when spoilers are done, maybe that'll make it easier. In order to save face, because, if they find out he lied, maybe they'll screw things up. Even though without those kills, he would have made the 20 and gotten the blue max legitimately. There's this death trap plane that they're supposed to test, and they're pretty sure it's going to crash. They let George Papard fly it. He flies it, and he crashes. So, pretty much had him killed to save face. And he'll die a hero to the people, without any controversy. Oh, and more spoilers. For what I understand, this is based on a book. And in the book, George Papard's character lived. And in a way, you could say that maybe would have been more interesting, because then that's what's going to possibly, those kind of people, perhaps is what's going to lead to the people we would see in World War II. Maybe you go with that angle. Like this type of person that doesn't care about their fellow man, doesn't care about comrades, cares about a specific thing like getting this fucking medal. That maybe that type of thinking will lead into Nazism going to World War II. Like the full brand of new soldier, and this is what people are going to want to be like, and this is what people want to appeal to those sentiments shared by George Papard's character. I don't know, maybe that could have been a more effective ending if you wanted to write and direct it in that way, but that's not what they went. So it's strange that they changed it from what I understand the novel, but what do I know? So at the end of the day, if you love films about World War I, if you love films that have really solid airplane fighter jet sequences, there's even a moment with the Red Baron in the movie. Like I said, the airplane fighter sequences, aerial sequences are top notch. The well done, well directed. The score by Jerry Goldsmith. Like I said, it was cool to see George Papard as a fan of the A-Team in a very different role, very early role. Like I said, I just don't think you needed the love story. I really don't. I think if you cut all that out, that would have helped with the pacing. I do not think it had enough story meat on its bones for 2.5 hours. In fact, instead of the love story, what I would have done is focus even more on the whole chivalry versus, like, even in conversation form or debate form, or maybe even in forms that's not just with fighting in the air, with other avenues of life, between chivalry and, this is the way it is, that type of sentiment. Right, I like Ursula Andress, Dr. No, but I ultimately don't think she was needed in the movie. So it's too long of a film. It's too long of a flick. There's even an intermission. For anyone who doesn't know what the hell that is, because there may be people who don't know what it is. Back in the day, if a film was too long, they will literally have an intermission, so a title card will pop up. Sometimes we'll say actually intermission, play music for a couple minutes, maybe 3 minutes. That way you get up, go to the bathroom, stretch your legs, go outside, go maybe have a cigarette, go back in, and then start the movie again. Fuck, they should have intermissions nowadays since they kept making those films 3 hours. But I had an intermission for Wonder Woman 84. I have to pause the motherfucker anytime I walk around. I still need an intermission with that piece of shit. And yeah, I'd rather watch this than Wonder Woman 84 or other movies. So at the end of the day, it was okay. Like I said, if you're George Papard, World War I setting, the airplane fights, the Jerry Goldsmith score, that at least made the film watchable. And I commend the people who worked and getting those aerial dart fights filmed. Because there's some of the... I would say there's some of the best on screen. There's some of the best on screen. Especially for 1966, what they were able to do with these. Go on YouTube. The Blue Max... there's clips on YouTube. Watch those. Maybe watching those would be better for you than watching the entire film. But those at least deserve to be seen. To commend the technical aspects and the people who put that stuff together. So, with that said, we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.